Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And I have another interesting story. I don't know if it's interesting or not, but or troubling or true crime story that comes straight out of the suburbs of Chicago. Um, as I tell you, I do sometimes pick storylines that have some familiarity in people, places, or things, and some of this commentary that I give you. And I try to have a semi 5 cents PhD common sense approach to navigating through this journey we call life with a slight legal slant. And this one is straight out of Chicago or Waukegan, Illinois. And this has a dichotomy about in dealing with life and death, and also the death penalty, whether one believes in life without parole and individuals that commit heinous crimes, or do we still believe in the death penalty? States like Missouri, Texas, Alabama, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, we still have a death row. And I'm just curious on how people feel about individuals that commit heinous death type crimes against other human beings. Should it be an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth? And should they be put to death, or is life in jail without parole sufficient? And here's a story that will definitely raise your eyebrow and raise your temperature on this issue of life and death and life without parole or the death penalty. So it's out of Waukegan, Illinois. Man who told his strange wife, "If I can't have them, neither can you," gets life in prison without parole for killing his kids. A suburban Chicago man who told his estranged wife in a note after he drowned their 3 children, "If I can't have them, neither can you," was sentenced last Friday, to life in prison without the possibility of parole on February 16th. The Lake County judge sentenced Jason Carrells of Round Lake Beach after considering victim impact statements written by the children's mother, maternal grandmother, and aunt that called Carrells a monster who destroyed many lives, the prosecutor said in a statement. Our thoughts are first with the family today. This has been a devastating case for the family and community, Lake County State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt said in a statement. Carrells, 35 years old, pleaded guilty but mentally ill in December to 3 counts of first-degree murder. He admitted that he drowned his 5-year-old Bryant Carrells, 3-year-old Cassidy Carrells, and 2-year-old Gideon Carrells on June 13th, 2022. How do you do that? How do you get to a place where you kill your babies like that? And they were 5, 3, and 2 years old. He is definitely mentally ill. Guilty but mentally ill means a defendant has a mental illness but understands the difference between right and wrong. Officers sent to his home to check on the welfare of the children found a note for his estranged wife saying, "If I can't have them, neither can you," prosecutors said. Carrells was arrested after leading police on a chase that ended in a crash at a highway bridge in Joliet. Round Lake Beach police said Carrells was briefly hospitalized after the crash. And if you remember, I did a video a month or so ago. Joliet, they're going through some tough times too with that young man who was 21. he ended up killing 7 members of his family: his mother, his brother, his 2 sisters, an aunt, and an uncle, uh, over the Christmas holidays. And then he ended up took off to Houston and committed suicide by a gas station. That happened in Joliet too. So sometimes I'll have storylines and videos that kind of have some association, as I said, with people, places, or things. Corrales told first responders following the crash that he was responsible for his children's death and had attempted to kill himself before fleeing his home, police said. Officers found his blood in the house from his attempts to hurt himself. Police said at the time of the deaths that the parents shared custody of the children but did not live together. So there's several things that are layered in this particular scenario. I think since I've been following a lot of these crime stories and family dynamics, historically I've seen when children have been killed by a parent. I've seen it where seems like it had been more the mother than the father. Seems like when the father is committing a crime against his family, he ends up killing the mother and the children and then himself. These isolated situations, if you go back and look at it, where a parent is killing just the children, especially in a custody fight, I've seen it lean more towards women doing it than men. It doesn't matter. But this gentleman, to have the relative consciousness to deliberately drown his children, that does not take 1 second. That takes a little bit of time to strangle. Takes a lot of energy. I haven't done it, but I mean, I've wrestled and boxed and messed with folks before, and I would assume that strangling or drowning someone, even if it's a toddler or a young person, is not the easiest thing to do, and it's very personal. For him to be that angry at his ex-wife and to take it out on his children like that, he was in no shape, form, or fashion to even have children. Certain people that are on this earth should not be bearing children at all. Now, we don't have a guideline or a parameter from stopping him from doing that, but there are some that shouldn't, and he's definitely one of them. And for these kids you never get to ask God what family you're going to be born in. It's a flip of a coin, like winning the lottery. And unfortunately, these 3 children ended up with him as a father, and the circumstance led to death, and they didn't even get a chance to enjoy and smell the fruits and labor of life. And then it makes you wonder what kind of woman would even be involved with a gentleman like that. There were never signs or symptoms with the ex-wife or mother of the children to notice that she was dating a complete nutball. There's accountability on both sides. I think we got to utilize our 5 senses when we're out here dating and marrying folks. And you want to get rid of the stranger danger and have some semblance and feel a certain level of comfort with people. But she had no idea that this guy I guess he just snapped or was a nutball. Definitely mentally ill. The other thing I want to tell you, so he got life in prison because the election of Democrat Pat Quinn paved the way for voters on a bill to abolish the death penalty in the Illinois House and Senate. And on March 9, 2011, Governor Quinn signed legislation that made Illinois the 16th state to abolish the death penalty. Remember, in 1994, the state executed serial killer John Wayne Gacy by lethal injection. And he was the guy that was sexually assaulted, tortured, and murdered at least 33 teenage boys between 1972 and 78. So here's a circumstance where this gentleman has killed his 3 kids. He is going to have a very, very rough time in prison. Do you think he should let the door open and he should be put to death, which Illinois doesn't have? Or should he have a miserable stay in life in prison and be abused by the prisoners there who hate child abusers and rapists? And he's going to have a rough time in the Illinois State Penitentiary.